The Chicago Bears entering 2012 looked to bounce back from the disastrous end to their 2011 season. In 2011, the squad started 7-3, but after a season-ending thumb injury suffered by QB Cutler, the Bears finished the year 1-5. Chicago had missed the playoffs just a year removed from their NFC Championship game appearance. Lovie Smith's Bears finished 17th in offense and 14th in defense, but owned 5 Pro Bowlers alongside an All-Pro kick returner. Being one of the lone offensive bright spots, Matt Forte ranked 3rd in rushing yards with 985. The Bears' defense was their strong suit though, led by future Hall of Famers Julius Peppers and Brian Urlacher. And both these grades earned Pro Bowl honors in 2011. Entering 2012, Chicago seemed set for another playoff push. Though media predicted them to be a low-seeded playoff team, the potential was clearly there. The defense would need to return to 2010 form, and the offense needed more weapons for the team to reach contender level. The Bears ranked on the lower half of the NFL in offensive yards and turnovers in 2011. In their first moves of free agency cleared up some worry about the 2012 season. They acquired wide receiver Brandon Marshall from the Miami Dolphins for 2 third-rounders. Brandon Marshall was familiar with Jay Cutler from their time in Denver, which were their best career stretches at the time. Brandon Marshall in 2011 caught 81 passes for 1,214 yards and 6 TDs. The Bears also drafted wide receiver Alshon Jeffrey in the 2nd round of the 2012 NFL Draft. Chicago preseason Super Bowl odds were plus 2,500, which was 15th in the NFL. Changes were also made in 2012 to the GM and the offensive coordinator position. Matt Forte held out through OTAs and minicamp before agreeing to terms with the Bears on the day of the deadline. With the Bears' 2012 roster finalized and a 3-1 preseason behind them, Chicago's season opener went underway at Soldier Field against the Colts. The Colts in 2011 without Hall of Fame quarterback Peyton Manning went 2-14, and after the season, they released him. They had the number 1 pick secured, and with it, they took QB Andrew Luck out of Stanford. Andrew Luck entered Soldier Field for his first NFL start, praying for the best. The Bears started off the year with a pick 6 inside their own 5. Not the ideal start. However, Matt Forte got the offense going with some chunk plays on the ground and in the air. But the Colts kept it close in the first half until a last-second touchdown by Michael Bush made it 24-14 at the halftime. A quick score in the third by the Bears widened their lead, but the third was all about Chicago's defense as they forced 3 turnovers in this quarter alone. By the fourth, the Bears were out of the Colts' reach, adding on a bomb from Cutler to the promising rookie Alshon Jeffrey in the end zone for good measure. Despite the pick, Cutler had a nice showing, connecting with Brandon Marshall 9 times. Playing against the Super Bowl favorites the next week, reigning MVP Aaron Rodgers threw 45 TDs to 6 interceptions in 2011. The hype was through the roof for this guy, and they had to face him in Lambeau. Packers looked to rebound from the tough loss against the Niners in Week 1. The Thursday night showdown started with both QBs eating the dirt in a slow first quarter. The score was still 3-0 and Randall Cobb broke for a big run that set Green Bay up into scoring range. After being pushed back to a 4th and 26, the Packers faked a 45-yard field goal, scoring a touchdown on a pitch to the tight end. Green Bay ended the half up 13-0. The Bears only gained 47 yards in the first half, and it wouldn't get easier as Matt Forte suffered a right ankle sprain. Cutler continued to struggle in the third, throwing 2 picks in this quarter. Rodgers put the game on ice in the fourth, defeating Chicago 23-10. The Bears' top receiver this game was Matt Forte despite getting injured in the third quarter. Cutler was sacked 7 times, and the Bears' hype evaporated in just one night. The following 3 games, though, the Bears' defense forced 10 turnovers. Through these weeks, they outscored their opponents 98-27. After the Week 6 bye, they were set to face the 2-3 Lions. Chicago sat at 4-1 with a hold on the NFC North in their grasp. From the kickoff, the Bears' defense spanked on the Lions, and despite an injury scare from Jay Cutler, Chicago win was pretty smooth sailing. This defense's 4 first turnovers won them the 13-7 bout in dominating fashion. The following week, though, they found themselves down 19-7 entering the fourth quarter. Cutler connected with Killian Davis for 6, then not long after, Tim Jenkins caught his second pick, returning it for a touchdown, making it 20-19. A last-second field goal was still needed for the Bears to walk away with the win against the 1-6 Carolina Panthers. But nevertheless, through 8 weeks, Chicago was 6-1 and looked like a new force. Jay Cutler, despite a lackluster midseason stat line, wasn't playing terrible, but still was looked at as just the 3rd best QB in this division. But fortunately, the Bears' defense was so good that they didn't need him to be the best. This 2012 defense also consisted of NFL legend Peanut Tillman, who was having a career year this year. In the Bears' Week 9 matchup in Tennessee, he forced the NFL record 4 fumbles in one game. The flawless 51-20 win was also aided by a 12-carry, 103-yard, 1 TD game from Forte and a strong showing from a QB and receiver duo of Cutler and Marshall. But in Week 10, they faced their toughest matchup yet, going against the Houston Texans. Both teams entered the matchup 7-1, and the Texans, led by Watt, ran through teams all year. It was a rainy day in Chicago, and early on, Houston forced a fumble that led to a field goal, giving them a 3-0 lead. Another first-quarter fumble derailed any kind of momentum the Bears built. Cutler threw a late first-quarter interception, totaling the Bears' first-quarter turnovers to 3. But Ted Jennings redeemed his QB, catching an interception early in the second. Though Chicago tied the contest 3-3, Matt Schaub extended the lead to 7 later in the second. Cutler ended the half with a pick, and after being diagnosed with a concussion at halftime, did not return to the contest. In the second half, both teams traded field goals to end an ugly 13-6 win for the Texans on Monday night. With Jay Cutler being ruled out for Week 11, Chicago had no chance against probably the most complete NFL team in the Niners. They now had lost back-to-back games and were missing their starting QB ahead of their divisional matchup with the Vikings. But he returned against Minnesota, a team that recently was on a losing skid of their own, and took care of business. The defense forced 3 turnovers and allowed 144 passing yards, both improvements from their Monday night game in San Fran. The Bears faced the Seahawks in Week 13, and Seattle sat at 6-5, and they were still finding their footing with rookie QB Russell Wilson, but their team immensely improved from the year prior, and their defense a week from now will force 8 turnovers. This defense in 2012 was the #1 defense, not allowing more than 28 points the entire season. Chicago hosted them in a battle of the 2 gritty defenses, setting the stage for a potential playoff preview. The Bears' first possession ended in a score, but the rest of the half would be all Seattle, as they went up 10-7 entering the third. Jay Cutler got Chicago on the board later in the third with the pass to Matt Forte to take a 14-10 lead. Cutler was having a pretty solid day against a scary defense, but so was rookie Russell Wilson. Late in the fourth, the Seahawks were down by 4 still when they faced 4th and 3. Russ converted on a 4th down on a pass down the middle to their tight end. He coupled this with a couple more good throws, which put Seattle in the red zone with 33 seconds left. The very next play, Golden Tate found the end zone, giving them a 17-14 lead with 24 seconds left. The Bears needed a miracle to stay alive, but their prayers were answered as a scrambling Jay Cutler found Brandon Marshall in traffic to get in borderline field goal range. Robbie Gould sent the contest to OT, where Seattle rookie phenom converted on multiple 3rd downs, then threw a touchdown to Sidney Rice, winning the game for Seattle. It was still a really strong showing for Chicago, but the next 2 weeks they lost divisional matchups against Minnesota and Green Bay. After these 2 critical losses, the Bears needed to win out, and even then, they weren't guaranteed a playoff spot. Against Minnesota, they turned the ball over twice, and against Green Bay, they got outgained by 200-plus total yards. Against Arizona, the Bears dominated throughout despite the mediocre passing performance by Cutler. The last game of the 2012 regular season was against the Detroit Lions. Calvin Johnson, entering Week 17, sat at just 108 yards away from 2,000. But it was wide receiver Earl Bennett who received 109 yards on the day, including Chicago's first scores. Chicago's defense dominated the first half, forcing both a fumble and an interception in the second quarter alone. Detroit bounced back in the third with a couple of Calvin Johnson catches that led to a Will Heller touchdown reception, making the score 20-17. In the fourth, down 26-17, Stafford connected with wide receiver Ryan Robisky, cutting the deficit to 2. But a Jay Cutler scramble on 3rd down sealed the deal. Chicago did what they needed for a chance at a spot, but the Vikings win 37-34 over the Packers knocked them out the playoffs, making them the first team since the 1996 Redskins to start 7-1 and miss the playoffs. They finished the season 3-5 with the overall record of 10-6, placing 3rd in the competitive NFC North. They had 5 players named Pro Bowlers and 4 All-Pros. Jay Cutler was not among one of them, having an injury-riddled season, throwing 19 TDs along 14 picks. Matt Forte, though improving his numbers from the year prior, missed the Pro Bowl and didn't even rank top 10 in rushing yards. Their top receiver carried the offense for majority of the passing part of things, as he sat at a new reception in yards in the season record for the franchise. The Bears ranked 28th in total offense, but ranked 3rd in defense. Defensive end Julius Peppers and Henry Milton both made the Pro Bowl and held down this front. The 2-star cornerbacks Charles Tillman and Tim Jenkins set the league ablaze with their 2012 campaigns, but none of these was enough to keep the Bears afloat. They were statistically one of the best teams ever to miss the playoffs. At the 7-1 mark, they led the league with plus 120 point differential, while averaging 29.5 points per game and allowing only 15 points per game. Chicago ended the year with 44 takeaways, the most in the NFL, and also had a plus 20 turnover margin. With the conclusion of the 2012 NFL season, the Bears kissed their winning ways goodbye and produced losing seasons till 2018. The 2012 season had all the writing on the wall to being the Bears' year, but offensively, they couldn't keep up. Injuries also affected their top 3 defense as the year went on, and as quickly as they went up, no surprise on how quickly they fell down.